Let's go to Asia now, where tensions between India and Pakistan are spiraling once again as both countries trade blame over a series of deadly cross-border attacks. Now, Pakistan's military says there will be no de-escalation with India until it has responded to New Delhi's Wednesday strikes. Pakistan has denied claims by India's armed forces that military stations in India-administered Kashmir, Jammu and other parts were targeted in drone and missile attacks. Pakistan's information minister says his country has engaged only in a defensive response so far to India's attacks on his country, with claims that India launched attack drones into Pakistan on Thursday, killing at least 2 civilians. At least 48 people have been reported killed so far, 32 of them in Pakistan. Adeniyi Kunnu is an international journalist and policy analyst. He joins me now from Texas for this conversation. Thank you for giving us your time. 2 nuclear superpowers.
Thank you very much for having me.
2 super nuclear powers, Pakistan and India. What should we be expecting? What are your fears?
I think that it's a dangerous development, and I expect that the United Nations that had mediated for many years now should actually come to pull their weight and put their weight upon both countries for de-escalation. As far as we're concerned, the information we heard was that in April, particularly I think 20th or 22nd of May, we had an attack that resulted in the death of 22 Indians who were actually tourists in the obviously Hindu Indians who were on a tourism around the Kashmir area, which resulted in their death. And since then, nobody's listening to anybody. But let's understand that this 78-year-old problem between both countries should actually teach us quite a number of lessons. And one of the lessons is that countries at times fail to see the importance of mediation rather than just getting things, come this way. And that's the sad part. The reason it's a dangerous development is because both nations are nuclear power nations. And when you see that 2 nations have the capacity for what I describe as mutual destruction, collateral destruction, or superior destruction, they begin to have a lot of problems. And that is why Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State for the United States of America, have actually spoken that there should be some sort of, just try to put the olive branch in place. But don't also forget that the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said that this is a matter that the United States of America cannot be directly involved in, and that they should try as much as possible to resolve the problems between both nations. And that is actually where the conversation is now. The U.S., although has too many problems on its table, but when you talk about 2 Asia powers, you have to be careful. We may not be able to argue the fact that India is about 1.4 billion in population and Pakistan is about just over 324 million. But the problem is actually looking at us in the face. You also want to talk about the land size. While Pakistan is about 881,000 square kilometers, India is well over 3 million square kilometers. So when you do a comparative analysis on the surface, you could say India will take Pakistan out. But we know what mosquito can do to any giant, if at all is able to get that particular thing into people's body. So let's understand that what looks at us in the eyes is something that can affect many other countries in that region. Let's also understand that we're talking about the 2nd most populous country in the world. We're talking about India that has its tentacles across the nation. So if there's a nuclear power problem, as we speak, it's going to affect many other nations. So I think that the global heavyweights should begin to speak to both countries, particularly because Nigeria, as the most populous black nation in the world, has a lot of stake with India. And if anything happens to India, you're talking about pharmaceuticals, you're talking about a lot of other imports, Nigeria can be affected by that. So you're looking at a smooth, relationship between both countries. And let me tell you this also, that about 36 airports are already closed in India as I speak, and flights have been cancelled because obviously even the supposed superior country is afraid of the possibility of things happening. But let's also understand that India has its own concern. Since this war started, especially if you look at the turn of the century, the country called Pakistan has been responsible for a lot of open doors to terrorists and terrorism in terms of the people that have been grooming in that country. Let's not forget that Osama bin Laden was killed in India.
Let me just interject quickly and ask, what specific interventions are you looking at from international intervention? Is the crisis up to that point now that requires that intervention, especially when you look at Pakistan's statement that there will be no de-escalation?
Well, that's actually the problem with Pakistan as we speak. And it's also the concern we have. Do not forget that this problem did not start because India happened to be the aggressor. The aggressor, from all indication, happened to be Pakistan. And this is where I believe that a country like China, that is also in Asia, needs to speak with Pakistan because it's important to do so. Let's not deceive ourselves here. China is a major stakeholder in many countries of the world. The United States of America has a lot of concerns right now, and perhaps we have to also look at what the issues are regarding the president of the US while he's not speaking strong to this issue. Number one, we have issue in Yemen. You won't forget about the fact that Ukraine is still there. Don't forget about the fact that we still have the Gaza problem. So the US perhaps is concerned that if it takes on or it mediates or gets involved too much, it's going to be another concern for it. So that seems to be why President Donald Trump is not speaking to the power in terms of what he should say right now, or not even speaking at all regarding that. But for me, I am not comfortable with the statement of J.D. Vance, where he talked about it is not the U.S.'s issue. Let's say this. When a country becomes a global power and there are major issues that could destroy the world, I expect its leaders to speak to those issues and try to speak with them. But, we can't do much other than speak. Let's also understand that in both countries, we have citizens of other countries of the world dwelling. And if at all the escalation goes to a point where citizens of other countries get affected, it could be a global war. Let's not forget, the world has been reeling in pains of the wars happening here and there. So right now, the first is for further mediation. You've had Marco Rubio, Secretary of State for the US, speak to the issue. I expect Mr. Starmer of the UK to speak to this issue. I also expect China's foreign ministry to speak to this issue. I expect the European Union to speak to this issue. This is not the time to look away. Because if you look away right now, you're going to begin to have those that are within the circle of ammunition transfer and sales make more money at the expense of people's lives. The recent attacks resulted in 18 and 19 deaths in India and Pakistan, respectively. Not forgetting that there have been deaths also.
I mean, just listening to you, it's quite obvious so much is at stake and de-escalation is imperative. We'll have to pause for now, though. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a day. Thank you.